one-vote shilling debate bandwagon. The opposition leader, who spoke during a meeting with the Limuru 3 conveners, said it is time the nation had a conversation on the revenue sharing formula, insisting it will ensure equity across the country. The debate on the revenue sharing formula is one of the resolutions of the Limuru 3 meeting, which Odinga has fully endorsed.
With us at Limuru,
they walked to Chungwa House to present their resolutions from the Limuru 3 meeting last month. Limuru 3 conveners on Thursday met with the ODM party leadership led by Raila Odinga to present their resolutions to the Orange Party. Part of the resolution was the one man, one vote, one shilling revenue sharing formula, which Odinga now says he fully supports, drawing similarities from the defunct BBI.
You agree with this phrase that is one man, one vote, one shilling. I agree totally with this. I'm never a populist. I always talk with my mind openly. I know that it may not be very popular in some quarters, but let us have this conversation. As a people, let us have this conversation.
The debate has elicited a lot of reactions from different players. Odinga, however, says the formula seeks to ensure each region gets its fair share of the national cake.
In the devolution, we talked about equity in sharing of resources in our country. Not equality. Equity in sharing of resources in our country. That means you actually take count of the numbers of the people where they are, because the services are primarily first and foremost to the people.
Odinga argues that devolution is about the equitable sharing of resources, which means considering the number of people living in an area. The former Prime Minister now says the idea has been misrepresented.
Somehow this thing has been misrepresented as if it is discriminating against other parts of our country. Nothing could be further from the truth. It is not a question of discrimination. We want to ensure that each and every Kenyan gets a fair share of resources created by our sweat. This is what it is. It cannot be right that some children should get more money as bursary than other children in other parts of the country.
It is a proposal that has sparked a heated debate across the political divide, pitting Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua against President William Ruto's allies, who have labelled him ethnically biased.
He is seen the light. His soul was now become a pawn.
Leaders from the Mount Kenya region have been at the forefront championing for the formula, citing the current model's inadequacy in addressing development needs. Under the current revenue sharing formula, population covers 45%, basic equal share covers 25%, poverty covers 20%, land area covers 8%, and fiscal responsibility covers 2%. Leaders from the Mount Kenya region argued that this distribution leaves densely populated counties with minimal resources for development.
Despite vouching for prudent use of public resources, President William Ruto's office will get an additional 1 billion Kenyan shillings and that of his deputy 597 million in the upcoming fiscal year, while key sectors such as education, health, agriculture, transport have received a significant reduction amounting to billions of shillings. Here's Joel Chacha with the details.
As the Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndungu prepares to read the 2024-2025 budget in Parliament next week on Thursday, it's now imagined that President William Ruto has been preaching water but drinking wine. The budget of the office of the President is set to rise by 1 billion Kenya shillings and that of his deputy by 597 million, despite promises of fiscal discipline.
The opulence and maybe the sensitivity that this government works on, because when you're telling other ministries to cut down on the expenses, which are very crucial ministries, any government that believes in the future of its populace should always invest in educating its citizens.
It is not a must that what is in the budget proposal will finally yield to an expenditure.
However, key sectors are the biggest losers, with education facing a reduction of 30 billion Kenya shillings agriculture 14 billion, health 7.8 billion, trade, industrial and MSMEs 2.6 billion, transport 39 billion, and energy, petroleum and mining 22.7 billion Kenya shillings.
University model, I don't know who brought it to this country, of admissions cannot work. So the chair of budget must relook into this and see if this State Department can get more money if our children are to go to university properly.
We expect that the volume and the numbers of the learners that are going to flock to TVETs are going to be overwhelming. And therefore, I would appeal to the chairperson in charge of BSc committee to consider adding more money to TVETs.
If you compare the money for TVETs in the previous years as now, you'll see it's an upward trend. And I want also to assure them close to 700 billion Kenya shillings in this current budget is going to the education sector.
The total budget for the upcoming fiscal year stands at 3.91 trillion, with revenue targets set at 2.9 trillion, raising concerns over the ambitious revenue collection, given challenges experienced by the KRA in the current fiscal year.
This also boils down to the issue of trying to impress our lenders out there by coming up with unrealistic targets that will only go far too much in hurting our people.
Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Kenya is on the brink of losing a 23 billion shilling investment by Coca-Cola and over 3,000 job opportunities if the Finance Bill 2024 is adopted as proposed. The company's top management has expressed serious concerns about the impact of the new tax regime on their operations. Here's David Kagina with the details.
On the 8th day of public hearing on the 2024 Finance Bill, Coca-Cola has joined the growing list of opponents to the proposed eco-tax, which would increase the cost of goods packaged in plastic products. The company highlights that their ongoing environmental conservation efforts have been fruitful, creating jobs for many, and that imposing an environmental tax would greatly hinder this progress and lead to job losses.
The levy we see that could be an impediment to the implementation of the Sustainable Waste Management Act, and also will hinder investments in the circular economy. Not only will we be impacted as a business, but also our partners across the value chain. Our distributors will need to maintain their margin, and we could see them also taking price as their margins get squeezed. We talk about the impact on FDI, the foreign direct investments. Because with this, then we know that you increase prices, then your volumes or your sales will decline, which may not be the right place where we want to invest into this country.
Coca-Cola's management warns that the proposed tax could make their products cheaper in neighboring countries, leading to a market shift that could benefit those countries at Kenya's expense. This could force Kenya to rely on imports for products it currently produces.
This levy will increase the cost of doing business. We are seeing the cost of packaging for CSDs or carbonated soft drinks to the tune of 80%. And for the water, the Keringet that is in front of me here, the cost will increase by 53%. One point I would like to raise here is that the levy, again, taking the point of Keringet here, is at 150. The resin that we buy to produce this bottle here will cost us 120. So the levy itself is actually more than the cost of the resin.
This comes just weeks after their company announced a major investment plan while hosting President Ruto at their headquarters in Atlanta. Coca-Cola had declared the intention to invest 23 billion over the next 5 years to boost production in Kenya, which was expected to create more jobs and inject more money into the Kenyan economy. Coca-Cola currently generates about 10,000 jobs in the region, both directly and indirectly.
For the last 20 years, we've made over 595 changes, administrative and others, in tax policy.
When we look at our spend, Chair, 82% on what is spent on our beverages goes back to this country. So for every shilling that is spent, 82 cents is added value to this economy. I guess when reality is you invest what you make. So if the reality on the ground is changed by micros, then you consider how much?
David Kagina, K24, Nairobi.
The latest survey conducted by Infotrack between May 23rd to 29th has revealed that 87% of Kenyans have rejected VAT on bread as proposed in the Finance Bill of 2024, with 63% of Kenyans feeling the country is headed towards the wrong direction due to high unemployment rates coupled with high taxation. Bentura Kwamboka with that report.
As the finance bill continues its public participation phase, 63% of Kenyans have expressed their dissatisfaction with the trajectory the country is taking, mainly attributing it to the high cost of living.
The cost of living, like we had seen, it was attributed to the reason the country is headed in the wrong direction. It still pops up as the key issue of concern, the leading, that is, amongst Kenyans. This is one of the leading reasons or one of the leading issue that they want to be addressed as a matter of urgency, followed by unemployment, 30%. In the previous slide, you saw unemployment was playing at 27% as one reason why the disgruntled Kenyans feel the country is not headed in the right direction. And infrastructure in general, 22%, but of course in specific roads.
According to a report released earlier today by Infotrack, over 80% of Kenyans have rejected the proposed VAT on bread, 16% VAT on mobile transactions, and introduction of 2.5% motor vehicle tax. The survey, conducted between May 23rd to 29th, also highlighted that 46% of Kenyans are unaware of the finance bill, 77% of the respondents perceiving that the bill will not have a significant impact on the economy, while 13% believing otherwise. Other proposed taxes rejected by Kenyans include additional levy on unfriendly products and proposal to exempt the disclosure of personal data to the Kenya Revenue Authority (KRA). If implemented, the cost of bread is expected to rise by approximately 10 shillings for 400-gram loaf, with the average cost increasing from around 60 shillings to 75 shillings.
We will share these slides with you.
Bentura Kwamboka, K24, Nairobi.
Civil society organizations united under the banner of Okoa Uchumi have directed the government to seal all the corruption loopholes to avert double taxation. During a forum held in Nairobi, rights groups representing 18 civil organizations, including Transparency International and the Kenya Human Rights Commission, have voiced their concerns over proposed tax measures that could further burden Kenyan citizens, particularly on basic commodities. Maria Mujahid reports.
I'll start.
The umbrella body bringing on board 31 civil groups led by Transparency International (TI) and the Kenya Human Rights Commission (KHRC) has proposed to the government to look for alternative ways of collecting revenue rather than imposing punitive taxes on Kenyans, more so basic commodities.
Despite the government's elaborate plans to increase the tax burden, they have not reciprocated the same energy towards the fight against revenue leakages through corruption. That continued taxation without accountability is extortion.
The rights group have objected to the proposal exempting the Kenya Revenue Authority from adhering to the data protection laws, citing legal concerns.
Poses a dire threat to citizens' access to vital services essential for the full realization of their fundamental rights and freedoms.
Criticism has also been leveled at the ongoing public participation process for the finance bill, with civil society organizations accusing the government of disregarding public views in the adoption of the financing measures. They have threatened legal action if their proposals are not incorporated into the Finance Act.
It is a worrying trend that citizens' voices do not find their way into the final policies approved by Parliament, despite being invited to give their opinions.
According to lobby groups, the proposed excise duty on manufacturers, if implemented without adjustment, could lead to increased reliance on imported goods and dent the local and export markets.
Caused 3 T-Sacks manufacturers to shut down. We had 6 of them. And those 3 that are remaining are only operating at 10% level of capacity utilization. And one company that shut down, 60 jobs had to be lost. Why? Because we are now importing rather than making local production.
Parliament is expected to debate the bill, paving the way for its implementation should it sail through the floor of the House. Mariam Jahid, K24, Nairobi.
While mixed feelings about the 2024 finance bill continue to be expressed in various sectors, yesterday a section of Kenyans from civil society groups along with the Bunge la Wananchi held a demonstration to the parliament buildings to present their complaints regarding the bill. Here's Dan Kaburu with the details.
These were scenes in the city earlier today, when demonstrators drawn from civil society groups and Bunge la Wananchi marched to parliament buildings to present a petition of a 2024 finance bill, which is aimed at raising taxes. According to the protesters, the bill will make life more difficult than it already is, a situation that could lead to many Kenyans losing their jobs. Their march culminated outside the parliament buildings, where they delivered their petition to the members of parliament, making it clear that they will oppose the bill in its current form.
Sisi wa Kenya ndio tunaumia, na sisi tunasema tutapigania wa Kenya wenzetu kama itawezekana, na tutashikana mkono na wale like-minded people wenye wako kama sisi.
What you have done today is a sign that you guys are patriotic Kenyans. Kenya is a free country where you have a right to speak out and to be heard. And I have listened to your petition. Your petition has raised very fundamental issues that affect many of Kenyans in this country.
Tutahakikisha hii petition ambayo mmenipatia iko hapa kwa mfuko, tuingie nayo hapa, tuipeleke kwa clerk sahi, na hiyo petition iwe discussed kwa floor of the house. Finance bill sa zile inafanywa hapa ndani, mimi nataka Wakenya wakuje hapa.
Dan Kaburu, K24, Nairobi.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu yesterday launched a 5.2 trillion shillings national education sector 5-year strategic plan that will go towards implementing basic to tertiary education in the country. According to Machogu, the government has committed to avail 3.4 trillion shillings, while the ministry, through development partners, will raise 1.55 trillion shillings. Machogu also allayed fears of a delayed capitation, saying primary and secondary schools will receive the 30% capitation this month. Harriet Chimea reports on the 5-year strategies set to benefit the education sector.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu today launched the National Education Sector 5-year strategic plan at the Kenya School of Government. The 5.2 trillion shilling strategic plan will receive 3.47 trillion shillings from the government, with the Ministry of Education expected to raise 1.55 trillion shillings through development partners. Despite the 5.2 trillion target allocation, analysis reveal huge gaps. The State Department of Higher Education faces the highest deficit of 932.1 billion shillings over 5 years, followed by basic education with a deficit of 388.2 billion shillings. TVET and TSC also faces shortfalls of 25.827 billion shillings and 174 billion shillings respectively. This even as the higher education faces a deficit of 29 billion shillings in the current financial year, a matter which Machogu said will be addressed, refuting claims of students struggling due to lack of capitation and fees under the new funding model.
And also moving forward before the end of the financial year, I know that we are yet to release some more, which will be the final release in that particular subsector this financial year. So we have not had any such serious problem as far as the release of capitation is concerned in our higher running institutions of.
The strategic plan focuses on infrastructural development, learner support services, equity and inclusion, curriculum assessment, quality teaching and training, research, quality assurance, policy implementation, and conducting a comprehensive school census. In the next 5 years, the plan aims to construct 116,000 junior school classrooms and 18,071 public senior schools.
The ministry plans to construct 16,000 new classrooms for the junior school by December 2024. And we are aware that out of this, I think we already have 3.5 billion Kenya shillings as we are talking, which will be able to do 3,500 classrooms, and that money has already been sent to the respective schools.
Additionally, the government plans to recruit approximately 22,000 teachers annually, building on the 56,750 teachers already employed. The plan also includes financing capitation for 36 million primary school learners, 13 million junior school learners, 18 million senior school learners, and 714,104 special needs learners.
We are at a very advanced stage now of ensuring that the second term capitation will be released in the course of this month. No school is closing down because the 50% capitation has been given to each and every secondary school and all our primary schools.
Harriet Chimea, K24.
Health experts are raising alarm about the rushed implementation of the Social Health Insurance Fund SHIF, warning it may not deliver the affordable healthcare promised by the government. With deductions set to begin in less than a month, all Kenyans will contribute 2.75% of their income to the fund. Ben Kirira has more details.
The government aims to bridge the health insurance gap by enrolling Kenyans onto the Social Health Insurance Fund.
Our fears is that...
However, health experts caution that while this goal may be achieved eventually, the fund's optimal functionality cannot be guaranteed.
Why are we not NHF? It's only 500 shillings. Now you're coming to tell us here, oh, you can go on Fulisa.
Private companies are motivated by profit. And since they are motivated by profit, they tend to cut more corners.
A health survey by Twaweza Nisisi involving 3,603 Kenyans between January 23rd and February 7th revealed that 47% are not currently enrolled in any health insurance due to the cost.
You are unable to service that debt, and then your new premium is due. And without you paying the new premium, you also don't have health insurance. So here's what I'm saying. You will have two problems.
Experts are of the opinion that the government should have addressed the existing issues within the National Health Insurance Fund before creating the Social Health Authority.
You haven't got the faintest, foggiest idea of what you are talking about. We are not talking about an insurance scheme. We are talking about a right.
Nearly half of the respondents in the survey felt not all ailments are covered by NHIF. 36% cited restrictions to specific hospitals, and 10% noted that some hospitals inflate bills to profit from NHIF.
Our fears is that Kenyans are going to be denied benefits so that these private claims management companies can make much more money.
Operationalizing the funds under the Social Health Authority is emerging to be an uphill task, especially those dependent on government allocation. The Fund for Emergency, Chronic and Critical Illnesses received 500 million shillings in the 2024-2025 budget estimates, far short of the 49 billion shillings requested by the Ministry of Health. This trend is worrisome to health experts who fear that universal health coverage once again might just be a pipe dream. Ben Kirira, K24, Nairobi.
That report by Ben Kirira brings us to a break on New Dawn. Much more still to come, including a look at the dailies. But when we come back, we focus on World Food Safety Day, celebrated every year on the 7th of June, drawing focus and attention to food safety incidents. What does that mean for the country, and what efforts has the government put in place to ensure that Kenyans are safe when it comes to food safety? Just stay with us. The conversation will come back in just a moment.